Hi everyone, it's Trish here. I hope you're all well. First of all, I would like to say a huge congratulations to all of you for completing the two forms tasks last week. All of you did the tasks and you did them really well. So I'd like to say thank you to everyone for doing the work that I set for you. And I hope that you learned something from doing those tasks. Now this video is about explaining what I would like you to do in week 4. So the first thing I would like you to do is to check your answers of the quizzes you did. They're not quizzes, or the tasks that you did last week in week 3 or for week 3. So the first one was the instructions task, where you had to read some instructions and answer some questions, and those set of instructions were very similar to the type of instructions you're going to have to write in a few weeks, where you're going to choose a topic and write a set of instructions. So that's very similar to what you're going to be required to do, and I will give you more information about that later. So that was the instructions task. And the second one was listening to the information text about climate change. And most of you did quite well. Some of you got them all right. Some of you maybe 1 or 2 wrong. So that was really good, because I know that it was quick, and I know that listening is difficult for students, and I do understand that. So I know I haven't had a chance to properly introduce myself to you, especially the new students, but my background is Italian. So I've studied Italian all my life, and even now I watch videos and series in Italian to help improve my listening skills. And I also studied Japanese right up to the end of university, and lived and worked in Japan for 2 years. So I do understand how difficult it is to learn another language, and I know how hard it is, how difficult listening is. And the more you listen, the better you will get at understanding the language. So in my units, there are a few listening assessments. So we will be practicing our listening skills and doing tasks that will help you with the assessment tasks. Okay, so I have attached the answer sheets, and there are lots of comments in red, particularly for the instructions task. So I encourage you to read through those answer sheets that I've attached, so that you can have a look at the answers, what kind of answers I was expecting, and you can compare them to what obviously what you thought the answers were. And then the answers for the quiz, the listening text, the list. I call it a quiz because there are questions, and then you get your results at the end. So the listening task, where it was on an environmental issue. So we are doing an environmental unit, where we will be looking at environmental issues, and you will actually write a report next term, and also hopefully do a presentation. So that's why we look at some environmental issues, because it will help you broaden your knowledge of different environmental issues, and so hopefully you'll learn something from that as well. So both of those tasks were done really well. I've attached the answer sheets. Please read through the answer sheets so that you can see what the answers are, and that will help you with your learning. The second thing I would like you to do is to check your answers for the following procedures handout. The big one that was all about instructions, and so there was a lot in there. Maybe some of the questions you didn't understand, but I have attached an answer sheet to the email, so you can go through at your own pace through all the answers, read through it, and check to see that you're on the right track. And if you haven't finished it, then you can just obviously have a look at it. But it is a really, really important handout, so I encourage you to go through it carefully. If you have any questions, please ask me. If you ever have any questions about anything, please ask me, and I am more than happy to help you. So they're the first 2 things I'd like you to do. The third thing is another Microsoft Forms task. Now this task is based on a listening text. So what you are required to do is to listen to a set of instructions and answer some questions. Now, this particular task is very similar to assessment task 5, where you will listen to some instructions and answer some questions. And the questions are very similar to the questions that will be on the assessment task. So it's about preventing vehicle theft, about preventing your car from getting robbed, from getting stolen. And so that there is a YouTube video that I created. So you listen to the instructions, and then there are some questions that you need to answer. Okay, now this is the first one for the new students. This is the first practice task that you've done. So don't worry too much if you're not sure or you get some answers wrong. If you find out later that you've got some answers wrong, because I will send an answer sheet. It's okay, because this is the first time, and then when you've done one, you'll know what to expect, and so when you do another one, you will understand what you need to do. So please don't get too stressed, okay, about it. But let me just go through some of the questions. Now I'm going to be looking at my screen because I've got the questions here. So if I'm looking down, that's what I'm doing. Okay, so for example, the first question is, what do these instructions help people do? So you have to choose one. So what is the main idea of these instructions? So what are they actually helping people to do? Okay, so you have to choose the correct answer. The next one is you have to list 5 instructions. So in your assessment task, you will listen and you have to write 5 steps, because there might be more than 5, but you only have to choose 5. And you have to use some sequence markers and imperative verbs. So you listen, and there are actually about 7 instructions, but you only have to choose 5, and you can put them in your own words. So when you're listening to the instructions, think of the steps and choose 5 and write them in the box, okay? And try to number them, all right? So, for example, you might have first, close all windows and lock all doors before leaving your car. So that would be like one instruction. So you would write that down, and then you next one and the next one. Okay, so that's a question that's in your assessment task. So it's about listening to the instructions and writing them down. Okay, the next one asks you to select the sequence markers used by the speaker. Now remember, sequence markers are things like first, next, after that, now, then, okay, finally, lastly. Okay, so choose the sequence markers. Then you have to list 3 imperative verbs used by the speaker. Now, the imperative verb is just the verb, remember. So, for example, things like hide, leave. So you just have to write the imperative verb only, okay? So that's all you need to do. You don't write leave money or secure your keys. You have to just write the verb, like secure, okay? Leave, okay? So that's what you need to do for the imperative verbs. Now the warnings. Now sometimes the warnings cause a bit of problems because students are unsure what are the warnings. Are they different to the instructions? So you need to listen. So warnings, advice, suggestions, use verbs like should, advise, suggest, recommend. Okay, so they're some suggestions and warnings. So they're a bit different to the instructions. So when you're listening, listen for those key words that are giving you some kind of suggestion. Okay, does that make sense? When you hear them, you'll get a better idea of what I'm talking about. Okay, so just give it a go. And remember, this is just a practice for you to learn. So it doesn't matter if you get it wrong, because you're going to learn from that. Okay, we learn from our mistakes. So it's all fine, all fine. So just try your best. Don't get stressed. Just give it a go. That's all I ask. Okay, now, who would find these instructions useful? So you have to choose the correct answer. So who would find these instructions useful? Okay. Now, the next questions. Now, normally in class we spend a lot of time on these questions, giving examples, etc., etc. Now, obviously, we're not in class, so I'm going to help you a little bit, and then I'm going to send you an answer sheet with possible answers so you'll know when you do your assessment task what you should be writing. Okay, do you think the instructions were clear and easy to follow? Yes, no, explain your answer using full sentences. Now, you need to say something like this. Yes, these instructions were clear and easy to follow because the speaker spoke slowly and clearly. She also used sequence markers and simple verbs and vocabulary, which made them easy to understand. So that's kind of an example of what I kind of expect you to write. You can also say, yes, these instructions were clear and easy to follow because the speaker spoke very clearly and gave the instructions step by step using sequence markers and imperative verbs. Her pronunciation was also very clear. Another example, I think the instructions were clear and easy to follow because they were given step by step. The speaker also spoke clearly and used sequence markers, simple verbs, and short sentences. The vocabulary used was also simple and easy to understand. Okay, now remember that the question needs to be answered in the past tense because it's do you think the instructions were clear and easy to follow? Okay, so there's some possible answers for those questions, and that question is in the assessment task. Okay, so again, don't stress too much. I'm going to give you the answer sheet so you'll know, what you're meant to write, and that will help you. Then the last question is, are these instructions useful? Why or why not? So are these instructions useful? So you could say something, if you think no, you might say, no, these instructions are not useful because I do not own a car and I do not need to worry about having it stolen. If you don't, you could say that if you don't have a car. Or you could say, yes, these instructions are very useful because they provide tips on how to prevent my car from being stolen. They are useful because they provide excellent tips or excellent suggestions on how to prevent a vehicle robbery, something like that. So it doesn't have to be too detailed, but this question is on this assessment task. It wasn't last semester for the students who are repeating, but it is in this assessment task. So you have to say, are these instructions useful? So you can either say yes or no. Most students say yes, and why? So they are useful because they give you ideas on how to prevent my car from being robbed, or if it was how to wash your hands. We had a one on how to wash your hands properly, and are these instructions useful? Yes, they're very useful because they teach you how to wash your hands properly, and how to remove all the germs, and so that's the kind of answer I'm looking for. Okay, so that's one quiz, and again, that quiz, because of one of the first assessment tasks, actually it's not a quiz, a task, is one of the first ones we're going to be doing is the listening to verbal instructions, and you have to answer these kinds of questions. Okay, again, just try your best. All right, the second quiz, I keep saying quiz, don't I? It's late and I'm tired and it's quiet. I waited for everyone to go to bed because it's really hard to do a recording with everybody in the house because my daughter and son are home now, and my husband is still working but comes in and out. So during the day, it's really quite busy and noisy at home. Okay, so I wait till everyone goes to bed. So, okay, the next task is again another listening task. but I have made it easier by including the transcript if you have trouble. Now, assessment task 13. So the listening, the verbal instructions is assessment task 5. The listening to an information text is assessment task 13, practice. So we listen to a BTN news report. So we use BTN a lot. For the new students, maybe you're not familiar with Behind the News. It's a news program designed for students. They're quite fun, and they talk about important issues. So it's run by the ABC. So we use BTN a lot. It's a little bit fast, so you might have to listen to it a couple of times, okay? But please don't worry about that. If you need to listen a couple of times, that's fine. In this practice task, because it is a practice after the task, so you have to watch the report. So read the questions first, watch the report, try to do the questions. But if you're having trouble, I've put the transcript, which is word for word what they've said. So you can have a read of the transcript this time. That might help you, okay? So just to make it a little bit easier for you, because it is the first practice task that we've done. The questions, again, the format of the questions is very similar to what your assessment task will be like. Now, you have a copy of all the assessment tasks. So if you're curious, you can have a look and see what assessment task 13 is, and you'll see that the questions are quite similar. Okay, so with this particular practice task, just give me 1 second, because I'm going to change my screen to get into that assessment. So let me just have a look. Not assessment, practice. Okay, now let's have a look so I can see the questions. So give me 1 second. Here we go. All right, now I might go down here because I can't see myself. All right, so again, so we listen to the report. It comes from BTN. Don't click on the source is actually BTN. You can look at the BTN website, but the link, okay, is below, okay, is palm oil ban. So you need to click on the link of the story. So that's actually, the first link is the source, where it's actually come from, the website, because I have to put that in. The second one is the link, which has the report. So click on the link underneath, palm oil ban, and that will bring you to the news story that you need to listen to, okay, and then answer the questions. So you have questions like, okay, this report is mainly about, so you have to select what is the report about, mainly about, so the main idea of the report, so you select one, okay. The main purpose of the report is to provide information or entertainment. You know, what do you think? Information, yeah? Okay, the report is introduced in a formal, serious tone or a fun, playful way. So when you watch it, you'll see the beginnings a bit, because BTN is a bit fun, because it is for high school kids, but it's great. We use it a lot in our courses because the programs are quite good and cover, important issues in a kind of interesting way for students. Okay, that's the question. Then you have true or false. So you just select true or false. Is that statement true or false? Okay. And then you have some questions that you need to answer. So what the one question is, why is palm oil a problem? So palm oil comes from palm trees. And the problem with palm oil is that they have to clear the forests. So they have to chop the trees down and clear the forests. And then what happens is the endangered species die, and the orangutans in particular lose their habitat, okay, so where they live. So that's why palm oil is a problem, okay. So the questions, you have to answer the questions by saying, palm, it is a problem because, forests have to be cleared and animals lose their habitats, and species become endangered, etc., etc. Okay. Another question is, what have some big companies done in the last few years to deal with the problem of palm oil? So what are companies doing to, deal with this problem of palm oil? Okay, so you have to listen, and then also you can have a read. And see what are they doing, okay, to stop this, to try to deal with this problem. Then there's the next question is, list 2 things zoos in Australia are doing in response to the issue of palm oil. So what are the Victorian Zoo, the South Australian Zoo, what are they doing to address the problem? Okay, so what are they actually doing? So you can just list 2 things. What are they doing, the zoos, to try to help this problem, try to address this problem or this issue of palm oil? I can't give you the answers, so I want you to listen, but I will give you the answers afterwards. In your opinion, is it important to do something about the problems caused by the production of palm oil? Explain why not? And what can you do to help solve the problem? So in the assessment, you have to write an opinion piece, okay? So you need to say, is it important? Is it important to do something? So I would say, if it was me, I think it is very important to do something about the problem of palm oil, because animals are becoming extinct and are losing their natural habitat due to forests being cleared. And what can I do? I can stop buying products that contain palm oil, and I can help educate other people about palm oil, and only buy products made from sustainable palm oil. So when you hear sustainable, that means produced in a way that doesn't harm the environment. Okay, so if something is sustainable, we often hear sustainability, so it's about protecting the environment. So palm oil is produced in a sustainable way, where animals' habitats aren't destroyed, palm trees are replaced. So we should really only buy products that contain sustainable palm oil, rather than palm oil sourced from forests where habitats are destroyed. So for the last question, you could say, yes, it is very important to do something about the problems caused by palm oil, because animals are being killed, natural habitats are being destroyed, forests are being cut down, and therefore we need to protect the environment, and things you can do, such as I can buy products that don't contain palm oil. I can educate people about the problems with palm oil, or I will only buy products that are made from sustainable palm oil. So there's some of the answers that you can give to that question. So so just write a couple of sentences. I don't want you to get too stressed about it. Just do your best. But these tasks are designed to help you with future assessment tasks. Okay, and hopefully I've given you some tips. I like to do that. I like to help you as much as I can. So now I'm going to be super, super generous. I'm going to give you until, let me say, Monday afternoon to complete the tasks. Okay, so you'll have plenty of time. You did it last week and I'm so grateful. So I'm going to give you until Monday afternoon to do those tasks, and then I'll check the register. I'm going to check the register on Tuesday, okay? Tuesday of next week. I'm going to be super, super generous. Tuesday of next week. So I really, really want you to do them. If you have any questions or problems, please, 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 please let me know. But doing these tasks is really going to help your learning, okay? Now I know that I believe Rose spoke to you. I didn't get a chance to ask her, but she said she was going to contact you about next week. So next week is a week, what we call a pause week, is what the university has called it. At the moment, we're doing we've got lots of meetings, professional development, etc., etc. So next week is a week where teachers are very busy and involved in different things. and they're not really meant to be contacted during that time. So, but if you have any questions about the work for this week, please let me know, and you should have it finished by Monday anyway. So if you have any questions, please ask me. But Rose and I will be unavailable during the week next week. As far as like work that you have to do, you will be still sent a little bit of work, but nothing is due next week. So it'll be due the following week. So I won't expect you to do anything. I will expect you to do this work, but I won't expect you to do anything for next Thursday, Wednesday and Thursday. Okay, I will give you something that you need to do for the following Wednesday. Okay, so you don't need to worry too much, but Rose and I will give you a little bit of work to do, but it won't be due that week. It'll be due week 6. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure you were clear that next week is a little bit of a different week to normal, but again, if you do have any questions about this work, please contact me obviously before Monday. But I will give you until Monday evening, and I will check the register on Tuesday, mark it off, and I hope that you've all done the work, and you will benefit from the practice because it will help you. And then I will obviously check what you've done, and I will send some sample answer sheets so that you're really clear about what I'm expecting from you. Okay. So thank you everyone for listening, and I hope after not next week, the week after, I can see you face to face on Zoom. I look forward to that, and please stay safe and well during this difficult time. It's really difficult for all of us, but we need to stay strong, and studying will keep you busy, which is good. So thank you everyone. Let me know if you have any questions, and I look forward to receiving your work next week. Okay, thank you. Bye.